Hello rugby fans, welcome to the Sables reunion show, where we talk to the class of 1987 and 1991. We talk about these two great sides that paved the way for the current Sables generation. Today we're at the famous Red Lion Bar at Harare Sports Club, and we've got a special guest, Grant Jumbo Davidson. Jumbo, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brian, and cheers, and welcome to Harare Sports Club.
Thanks for hosting us. The famous
home
Red
of
Lion.
rugby, as OGs like to say.
It is ceremonially the home of rugby when rugby is in Harare. Although the arguments, some say it's Hartsfield, but it's debatable.
Very.
So Jumbo, where were you born and which schools did you go to?
I was born here in Harare, 1961, June. I went to Hatfield Primary School and Oriel Men's University.
Why did you call it Oriel Men's
Because
University?
we were men of men.
So take us your moments at Oriel. It's quite a famous school.
Yeah, we held our own for a relatively new school and quite a small school. Our greatest day of life, and I will repeat this, is that we beat Prince Edward at Jubilee Field in 1979. That was probably the highlight of the thing, but we always held our own. We were very competitive, and school rugby was very competitive in those days, and it still lingers on. The bar talk and arguments about my school and your school it still go on to this day.
And do you remember the famous score which you beat Prince Edward in 1979?
15-8, I'm guessing. I am guessing. Yeah, ask Ralph, he scored the winning points.
And how competitive was schoolboy back then?
Very, very competitive. Yeah.
And how many games would you play per season?
I would estimate, because it was always a home and away, about 20 odd games. But again, that's a guess. No.
And when you moved after high school, which club did you join?
I came straight here, 1979, and I've not left. I played all my rugby here.
And which games would you look forward to play against when you play for Harare Sports Club, the home of rugby?
Got very competitive. OMs, OGs, Old Boys. It was very competitive. When I first joined here, Old Boys were the powerhouse. I think we hit a season in 1988 where I think we were unbeaten. We won the Intercities, the Premier League. They would go with swings and roundabouts. OGs was always a bit of a shooper for us. Very competitive rugby. We would get up to 5,000 people. The field was over there where the stand is there now for cricket. We would have at least 5,000 people at a good club game coming to watch. It was very good, very festive, and very competitive. Then
a lot of people talk about the memories of traveling to the farming community, especially for the second team, since most of the farming teams were not in the Super League, they were more in the B League. What fond memories do you have yourself traveling to the farming community, either playing Banket or Marondera or Odzi?
They were absolutely fantastic times. In fact, quite often you would actually try and make sure you're in the second team for the weekend, because going out to these Mvuruis, Bankets, it was Karois, was fantastic. It was a good fun, good farming stock, good banter in the bars afterwards, good hospitality, would be looked after superbly. Yeah, it was great times.
And can you take us when you actually made your debut for the national team? Do you remember the year and the game? And what you went through that day before you ran onto the field?
So, if you remember, in our day, you would have a bench, but if no one got injured, no one would go on the field. I made the bench against Scottish co-optimists here. And I got a small run on that game, and then we got a tour in 1985. We went to Kenya, Spain, Portugal, and that's where I collected my first caps, because you'd have an international on the Saturday and a sub game during the week. So we'd play a main club side or a main provincial side, and you'd pick up 6, 7, 8 caps on a tour easily. In those days, to get a full national cap colours, you had to have had 3 games for your country, not just one run on.
Wow. And what memories come from that tour?
We were in the amateur days. Tours were a lot of fun as well as good hard rugby. Of all the tours, I think when we went to the Eastern Bloc, we toured Russia, Georgia, Romania, in the height of all their problems as well. And with our country that's been through its problems, it was quite similar. Hard, very strong, hard people that we played against. Yeah, the comradeship that we had, you know, it's quite weird because the whole season you're playing against that person, OH player, that Old Boys player. But then when you unite and you get the national colour, you get your national jersey, you are one. You are playing for the country. And that is an unbelievable feeling, and I still get goosebumps over the pride that we have to play when you play for your nation.
You were part of the squad that went to the 1987 World Cup. Unlucky not to play a game, but what was the experience just being part of their group and being in New Zealand and being part of the first ever Rugby World Cup?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was like taking children out of a school park and putting them in Disney World. It was world class. The experience was fantastic. We were still in the days where you only ran on if there was an injury and a doctor had to subscribe you injured. I sat bench on all 3 games. I never actually got onto the field. Yeah, it's just an amazing thing. And if I can say anything to these guys that have qualified for the Sables, you guys have got to embrace what's happening to you. This is a big arena and a big stage. Your destiny is there for you to take and hold and go with. Really is.
And from that World Cup, apart from not playing, which other things do you think you learned personally from that World Cup?
Self growth. You grow up. You grow up as a rugby player. You grow up as a person. You're on the world stage. You're watching and you're playing against, and you're rubbing shoulders against all the world greats. Your Gavin Hastings, your Philip Sellers, you can throw 1,000 names. It's the world stage. It's fantastic.
And which were some of the colorful or the most the clowns of the 1987 squad?
Of our squad?
Yes, from the 87 squad.
I don't think we should tarnish characters on public forum. There were a lot of fun people on the tour, myself included.
And your nickname Jumbo, and I've heard a lot of great things from people who played with you, who played against you. Where do you think that attributes from being that likable guy and always being joyful?
Well, that's just the upbringing in this beautiful country that we're absolutely privileged to live in, with the people that we live with. Yeah, you grow up into the person that you've been pathed, and that's what life's about.
And where does the nickname Jumbo comes from?
Jumbo, I actually don't know. I had it at junior school. And then when I left junior school, I didn't know a soul when I started at Oriel, and the name followed me. I did quite a lot of swimming, so I had the name there, and yeah, other sports, but yeah, the name followed me throughout.
Jumbo, we're going to take a break and we'll continue chatting and reminiscing
Cheers.
About the old moments in the heydays.
Thanks, Brian.
Rugby fans, we're going to take a brief break. It's still the Sables reunion show. We're joined by Grant Jumbo Davidson, the legend. We'll continue after these messages.
Significance of this jersey is it was the first jersey that I received on our 85 tour.
yeah, it's with pride that I've managed to hold on to this through many a divorce, and life as it moves on. That's what we played for. Yeah, significance of it was, in our day, you had to have 3 caps, 3 run-ons to get your national cap. And that's the jersey that I did it in, and that's why I brought it along, and the significance behind it.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into the Sables Reunion Show, where we talk to the class of 1987 and 1991. These 2 eras shaped up for the current generation of the Sables. And today we're still joined by Grant Jumbo Davidson. Grant, you played in an era where rugby was not professional. What kept you guys motivated?
The team comradeship, the mates you met, the people you played with, and it was just a way of life. Our lives revolved around the field, the Saturday, the fun afterwards. Yeah, it was about the people.
You also played in the 80s where Zimbabwe had just gotten independence. How was the racial integration where black players were coming up into club rugby and into the national team?
It obviously, we started in the 70s. In the 80s, these guys were coming through, your likes of Richard Simba, Milton Nyala, Honeywell and Nguruvi, all these kids, Bedford Chimbima, Freddie Phineas, brilliant, talented guys. They came into the fold. Jeff Madaki, brilliant players. And we all got along, and we still get along to this day. We were mates. If you were part of a team, you were part of that team.
You mentioned about a few players, any which you took a hand guiding or mentoring since they were coming and joining a new system?
I think all your seniors you should look up to and follow their steps if you respect what they've done for the game and been in the game. I certainly think I did have an influence on some of the guys. Probably if you spoke to Honeywell or a Freddie or a Jeff, we're still all absolutely in comms, and they're great people, and according to them, I did play quite an influence in their careers and their love for the game, and but they were talented. Your Richard Simbas. If you take a Richard Simba, if you had to pick 5 of all-time great players out of this country, Richards went in there with them, with the likes of your Ian Robertsons, your David Smiths, the great players who've made Springboks, and that Richard was as good as anything that we'd seen.
And what else do you think Richard offered on the field since you played with him? And
he just had the love for the game, and he loved playing the game, and he had the raw talent, and he was unpredictable, unreadable, and he was an asset, an absolute asset. May his soul rest in peace.
You played in the famous qualifiers in 1991, but ended up suffering a career-ending injury in the final against Morocco. Were you gutted that that injury stopped you playing in the 1991 World Cup?
Devastated, yeah. Because I hadn't actually managed to run on a field in '87. I was sort of like a more senior member of the squad, and I was ready for it. And I was. It's a terrible feeling that's the end, but it was. There's nothing you can do about it. Live on with it. I then joined the ranks, and I helped coach at that time, being a senior member. So I helped and assisted Brian Murphy with the coaching. Later on, I got drafted onto the selection panel, and I joined the board of ZRU.
And how was that experience being part of that selection panel and coaching?
It's a great experience. It's a privilege, and it's your one. It was my want to give back to the game that I had got so much from. I'd benefited in life and had a glorious time playing the great game, and yeah, it was good to be able to give back.
And how challenging was it, the transition from being a player and now you're part of the setup, you're an assistant coach, and you also end up being part of the selection panel?
I think I built the respect from as a player, so I don't think I had any transition problem.
And looking what happened through that era, what do you think it took so long for Zimbabwe to finally qualify for the World Cup after 30-odd somethings?
How we missed out on 3 of those still mind boggles me. We should have been at the 95 and the 99, I strongly believe. We've sort of fell away a bit post that, but we're back again now, and the talent and the ability of what is I'm seeing out there now, it's untapped. We've got a strong chance. These kids can take this and benefit themselves in the long run, but we've got the talent. It's just putting it together.
And taking you back, we're finally qualified. We're going to Australia next year, and we're going to play England, Tonga,
Wales.
Where were you when you watched the famous qualifiers in 2025?
In 2025, wasn't the final here?
The final was in Uganda.
It was in Uganda. We were probably watching in here on TV.
Can you take us through the moments when that final whistle blew?
The celebrity, I just remember the whole place erupting. It's a national, it's national pride. It's just the boys have done it. They can go, and they've eventually conquered what's been a negative for them for so long. That they've just stumbled at some final hurdles, but they've made it now.
And what do you think this class of 2027 can learn from the class of 1987? It will be exactly 40 years.
Yeah. Well, the game has changed so much. But if I've got anything to offer them, is what I've just said there. Just go there. You're on world stage. You are being watched, and do your country proud. Do us proud.
And the president of Rugby Africa was in the country recently. He emphasized on how important it is to get the old infrastructure to be upgraded so Zimbabwe can host tier 2 test matches. You played at Police Grounds, you played at Hartsfield. How important will it be if the infrastructure gets upgraded?
In my view, it has to have its home. There has to be a home for the national side. And if they can put it back, Police Grounds, I think capacity, we had 18 to 20,000 people there. I think it was when we played Russia. It's got the facility. Rugby has to have a home. The national team have to have a home that they want to run onto that field with pride, not just at this club or that club or a school facility. They need a house.
And from the visit of the president of Rugby Africa, Abed Mensah, what were your biggest take as a person who once played the rugby and was also involved in administration?
I've only watched bits and pieces on social. I didn't unfortunately get to see him or anything. I salute him. I think he's got the right visions and the right drive, and I think he's seeing things that are here and haven't been nurtured and brought through. And I totally respect the man in what he's trying to achieve, and I wish our country the absolute best to go follow through and listen to what he's saying, and let's go and give it a go.
And Zimbabwe has one of the best schoolboy systems in the world when it comes to rugby. What do you think Zimbabwe needs to keep doing so that we can convert that pool of talented players and they end up having brilliant national team players?
Well, that's where it gets down to the economies South Africa went through it where a lot of their players were leaving the country for economic reasons. We've got to be able to bring those players back. They're playing on the top level. They're out there. We need to be able to have those guys coming back and playing for the country and identifying them.
And what is the biggest compliment you would give to the current laws or the current form of the game? The game is evolved from the time you played, from the laws and some of the nitty-gritties.
Compliment is a hard word because there's far too much involvement in my view. I believe rugby is getting too much influence from men in suits and high offices as opposed to the people on the ground doing what they should be doing.
And if you were to have it your way, what would you change about the current rugby laws?
I think that's way out of my category to be able to change anything, and we've got to follow through and go with how it is. The game is a massive game now. It's a massive business, and we need to follow the trend of what it is.
And which laws do you dislike the most? The current?
The scrumming laws.
As in, since you're a lock and you're forward, do you think they've gone soft as much as they're emphasizing?
No, there's no ways you can call those athletes soft. But yeah, I played front row as well. Yeah, the scrumming has changed. It's not what it used to be, but it is for the protection of players. Yeah, people have made the decision, and yeah, that's what the laws are, and you've got to play to the laws.
And you mentioned you played in the front row, you played in the second row. Which position did you enjoy the most?
I enjoyed loose head prop.
Oh, you used to like to scrum a lot.
Yeah, yeah. When I was, lock was great. I was a little bit too short for, certainly wouldn't make it as a lock now in the international frame. But it's also good. But yeah, propping was good. I enjoyed that.
Jambo, we're going to take another break and we'll continue with the conversation.
Cheers.
And thanks for hosting us at the famous Red Lion Bar.
Cheers.
Cheers. Rugby fans, we're going to take another break. It's still the Sables Reunion Show, where we chat to the class of 1987 and 1991. Don't forget to like our Facebook page, Rugby Wires ZW, Instagram page, Rugby Wires ZW, TikTok, Rugby Wires ZW, and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. And also, please comment. Your comments make us prepare for a better show and make it a better show. See you after the break. Welcome back. We're still at the Red Lion, the famous bar in Harare, and we're joined by a legend, Grant Jambo Davidson. Grant, what do you think the qualification of the Sables for the World Cup 2027 will mean to the rugby community in Zimbabwe as a whole?
I hope it means the world to them. I think as a nation, I think it means a lot as well. I hope that we get the enthusiasm, and not just in rugby. I hope we can rugby can bleed off the current success of our cricketers, and take this national pride and let's go and give it your best, and get on with it.
And what do you think the current crop of not just players but anyone who's playing club rugby within Zimbabwe can learn from the class of 1980s or 90s, where it was predominantly amateur, no money for tour, like being paid allowances? It was all about national pride. What can they draw lessons from their era?
Well, before they make a penny, they should have the national pride first. It's the sport had to go the way it had to go, and people's lives can be changed by the sport, where livings can be made, and it's helped a lot of people in life, rugby, and it's there, and it's up to you to go and get out of the game what you can.
And you yourself, what lessons did you learn from playing rugby, which you use in your personal life now?
My biggest thing that I think I took out of rugby is the comradeship, the friends, and the love of the game.
And post-retirement, as much as it was amateur era, what did you end up doing in your personal life, whether business or work, when you finally hung up your boots after that injury?
Like I said, I got a little bit involved in the admin side and did a bit of that. I did a little bit of reffing, as much as my knee would let me. In my personal life, yes, I believe I had my own vehicle distribution, and by being who I am and what people perceived me, it was a very successful business.
And currently, are you involved in any businesses? Or?
No, I'm not really. I'm semi-retired, although I've bred young generations. So yeah, I plow on. I'm just a freelance guy that does his own stuff.
Then, if it wasn't for rugby, which sport would you have taken up?
Again, in this country we live in, we were privileged to play a lot of sports. I dabbled with a bit of water polo at school, never played it after. I loved motorsport. I raced motorbikes for many, many years, and only then stopped playing with the motorbikes for rugby to go on to play go on to 87 World Cup, and then hopefully I was trying for the 91. But yeah, probably motorsport. But you know, you find where your talents are, and obviously rugby was the one for me, and that's where I followed.
And any sport you're involved with administration apart from rugby?
No, I'm not really involved in any sporting thing. I've got grandkids and kids at school still, so I love the school interaction, and yeah, just follow that.
And do you ever go down and watch some of the schoolboy derbies in the country?
I do, yes. Yeah, the Peterhouse, the St. John's, St. George's. There's great rugby, and it's very competitive, very, very competitive.
And lastly, what would be your parting shots from the 1987 class, which you could tell to the Zimbabwe rugby fraternity as a whole, and also to the class of 2027, will be exactly 40 years after you guys went to New Zealand?
Yeah, I think I touched on this a little bit earlier. Guys, take this opportunity, go and give it your best. First thing first, make your nation proud. Let's go. You will have the country behind you. We've got a number of the 87 and 91 guys. We're all talking about getting over there. Certainly want to go to the games that Zim are playing. I think we do Wales and Adelaide, and England and Adelaide. We, after the World Cup in 87, played in Adelaide. We played South Australia. I think we narrowly lost. I can't remember the score. Went on to Western Australia, played them. We actually won that game. Yeah, we'll be behind you all the way. Give it your best, boys. I'm proud of you.
Jumbo, you're a utility forward. You played in the front row. You played in the second row. You locked, you scrummed. How was the technique back there compared to now when you scrum or when you're lock pairing? They say the tight five is the engine of the scrum.
Tight five is, yes, have always been the engine of the whole unit. In our day, we would have a hooking hooker. So his legs would be free to be able to get the ball. The ball had to go in straight. Now it's been put under the legs. It's almost like, let's just put two bunches of lard together and let them just hurt each other, but the ball's going that way anyway. We would have hookers running around, not worried about what the scoreboard's saying, 15-8 or 25 this, or they're going around saying 3-0. That means he got 3 tight heads. It means he got his ball by out hooking him in the front. So yeah, that law's changed. In our day, there was no lifting of the lock. There was no, the laws stated you could not have interaction until that player had connection with the ball. Nowadays, these guys are just rocketed into the air. When you put your flanks in there just to see how high you can hold them up, and they're almost holding them on the calves. So yeah, all the laws have changed, and that's the way the game's evolved.
And you were once part of the selectors panel. You were once an assistant coach. There's talk in town that we need to keep the group that made us see the promised land, qualifying for the World Cup for the first time in 30 years. What's your opinion on how players should be selected come 2027 World Cup, since that we have players playing around the world with Zimbabwean heritage?
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to play that one out. Part of me says you've got to look after the guys that got you there, but a lot of me says you've got to take your best side to the World Cup to do your best on that stage. Yeah, they're going to have to try and work that out.
And what do you think the technical team, your Pete Bernardi, the head coach, and his backroom staff, the headache they have ahead of selecting the final 31-member squad touring to Australia?
It's a massive headache. That is not an easy job. I've got total respect for Pete Bernardi. He comes through the good reins. I've been underneath Brendan Dawson, who, in my view, there's no person in the history of this game that has given so much of himself and his time for the passion that he followed and flowed into the game. And Pete's come through with that with Brendan, and he's got the motivation of what's happened. He needs to just run with it. A coach doesn't make all the decisions. He's got to put his input of what he'd like, but there are selectors. Yeah, that is not an easy job. I'd hate to be anywhere near that.
And during your time, which were the headaches you found as being part of the selection panel, where people would say probably you have left XYZ from Old Miltonians or Pastors who's not in the squad?
That is always going to happen, and it will continue to happen, and you're going to have disappointment. You're going to have guys that probably should have and could have made it, and they didn't, and were overlooked. Certainly in the past that's happened, and it'll happen in the future. It's just one of those things of life.
And what would you say to players out there with Zimbabwean heritage? Probably they're looking at the eye that maybe they may come back. What motivation would you tell them to come back and play for Zimbabwe?
Even back in our day, in the amateur day, there was certainly people that played elsewhere and came back for the World Cups. It's a hard line, but we've got to take our best side, and guys that are out there, put your hand up. There are these scouts out there looking. We've got to, if you get selected, well done. And for the guys that get disappointed, who probably should have or could have, I feel sorry for you, but it's going to happen.
Jumbo, thanks
Brian,
for hosting us at the famous Red Lion.
Cheers.
Cheers. It's been a pleasure talking to you and taking us down memory lane.
Thanks, Brian.
We definitely learned a lot from that era, and hopefully our viewers will enjoy. Cheers.
Good man. Cheers.